Hello, everyone. My name is Danny, and I am going to review Thank You for Your Service. This is a 2017 movie. It is rated R appropriately. It runs about an hour and 50 minutes. For Sergeant Adam Schumann and many soldiers like him, the process of leaving combat back in Iraq was as seemingly simple as getting on that plane. But standing on the tarmac again in the arms of loved ones would turn out to be merely a first step in the long and exacting journey of actually returning home. Thank You for Your Service follows a group of U.S. soldiers returning from Iraq who struggle to integrate back into family and civilian life while living with the memory of a war that threatens to destroy them long after they've left the battlefield. This stars Miles Teller, Haley Bennett, Joe Cole, Amy Schumer, Beulah Kowal, Scott Hayes. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but this is a very stereotypical military movie. People go to war, they come home. One wants to go back to the war and he's unfit for battle. One gets injured and has to kind of be the happiest out of everybody, even though he's injured. And one has a family and he's the one with a head on his shoulders, but he's probably the most sick. So, Miles Teller, I've always liked him. If you guys have not seen his music movie where he's a drummer, you need to see it. Look it up. Miles Teller is a very established actor in this day and age. He's going to do a lot of movies. If I were him, I wouldn't care so much about this one, except for the fact of what it probably meant to the people who lived this story and who provided it to be a movie. I'm sure that was very meaningful to represent these soldiers and what they've gone through in their life. But to me, it wasn't anything unique. To me, it wasn't anything special. There's one twist, and that's that one of the soldiers has to kind of get into the drug scene so that he can actually deal and cope. So, other than that, the end is nice, and there's a couple things you think are going to happen that are kind of violent, but there's a lot of language because they're soldiers and they're guys, and if they cleaned it up, it might be even a nicer movie, but they didn't, and there's a lot of language in it. So I'm just going to kind of keep this short and say that this was not that great a movie, and the actors felt like they played their part, but they didn't provide anything more to it. Amy Schumer felt awkward in this movie comparing to what she's done. Haley Bennett is great, and I love her, and I've appreciated what she's done in the past, but she shines. She's nice. She's like she's like an emblem of a good wife. But I mean, what else? I mean, it's such a hard movie to be in and actually bring something unique in. You have lines to deliver. They're full of pain and sorrow and struggle, and you just can't really do anything other than that than just say, "Yeah, I got you, bro." And then the guy's like, "Well, you gonna give me a beer or not?" He's like, "Yeah, I got you, bro." How can you say that any differently? It's very dry. It's very simple. Maybe it's bad story writing, but it's what the guy has probably said in real life. So there's not much more to it. It's just a real life story of somebody that went through something after the war. There is one other surprise, but it was like an obvious thing, and they drew it out all movie, and then they finally addressed it at the end, and I was like, well, it's about time. So I wouldn't count that even as a surprise as far as the movie goes. They did keep going from storyline to storyline and from person to person, and I didn't really appreciate that much. It's done a lot and it's not very effective. So that didn't help me enjoy the movie anymore. And other than that, I think it was fine for what it was. I mean, a lot of people are going to get a lot out of this because it's about people's struggle and people's coping mechanisms with after being in the military. But I've seen some really more real movies about coping with the war and going through that trauma. And there's a line in this movie saying that thousands and thousands of veterans are looking for assistance on a daily basis. And so why should I care about this 3 guys out of the thousands and thousands that are coping? You know, we can't make movies about all of them. So the one that they made about these 3, they're very normal guys and they're very normal situation. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news again, but at the end, it tells us that they're all fine. They're all living in different parts of the country and with their families. And I mean, they worked their way through it. And I don't want to make it sound like that's a normal thing, that everybody's always fine, you know, after struggling with trauma. But these guys were, so why even tell their story to begin with? That's just maybe a little bit too critical, but it's just my opinion of these 3 guys that were part of a war. The thing that traumatized them wasn't even their fault or anybody's fault. It was very understandable, a thing. And then when they go home, they can't even deal with that one thing that wasn't really anybody's fault whatsoever. Somebody has to blame somebody else. You know, I mean, I personally will never understand that. But as a movie watcher, it just seems like it shouldn't be that big of a deal to get over, and that it was a very understandable thing that happened. But when you're that close and you're military brothers, it does get to be a lot bigger deal. So there's a lot more talking that could be done about this movie, but I just think it's a fine movie to watch, and it has some things that don't need to be in it, but are, and it tries to add a side story to add more suspense, and I don't know, it just kind of lacks. And then at the end, it's all, oh, everybody's fine. So kind of ruins the dramatic movie that it was and turns into, oh, everybody's happy and fine. So my name is Danny. I'm going to give thank you for your service a C. And Miles Teller, thank you again. I will always watch a movie with Miles Teller in it. And give it a watch if you would like. A lot of people can't emotionally watch military movies, so I'll understand that group. And a lot of people think military movies are the best thing ever made because they are so emotional and they are so dramatic and they are so real and raw. And I understand that group also. So thanks for watching, guys. If you like this review or any of my other ones, please go and watch them, give them a try, and like and subscribe to my channel if you want to, and enjoy your movies. Thanks.